Hi, Mark Gellard here for Tennis One, and today we're going to work on something called the X factor of tennis, and I'm here with physiotherapist Ian Barstow, who is going to help us understand what the X factor is and how important it is in the game of tennis. And what is becoming increasingly important in tennis is the core strength and using the core and having a separation between the hips and the shoulders, which is going to allow for greater flexibility, therefore a larger range of motion and more power on your shot. So Ian is going to explain to us today exactly what we can do to test our range of motion with the X factor, how we can improve on it, and then how it's going to benefit us whether we're a recreational player or a professional player.
G'day Mark. One of the big differences, you pointed out, between recreational players and pros is their ability to use the core. Now everyone knows that we have to get stronger in the core, but you also have to know how to use the core. This X factor actually comes from Jim McLean in golf, and it's just a very simple way to understand the relationship between your hips and your shoulders. Let me just show you the evolution. When I learnt tennis from my mum a long time ago in Australia, we used to block everything. So we'd forehand like this. We'd all come through, and maybe many of you out there are still hitting this way, the backhand the same. As it's progressed through this, they've learned to use their obliques by separating the hips and the shoulders, so they get a lot more speed, racket speed. What's happening here is we have our relationships between our hips and our shoulders. If we move together, they're blocked. But what we want to do is actually move our shoulders more than our hips. If we look from above, this will create an X. So we're looking at the relationship between our hips turning to our shoulders turning. You want your shoulders to turn about 45 degrees more than your hips to facilitate the obliques. The obliques are the key. And if you watch Federer, Soderling, Nadal, Djokovic, any of the modern players, you'll see that they have so much rotation and they've really learned to fire the obliques. It's not just about having strong core, it's about learning how to separate them and how to get the timing of them in. So Mark, let's just look at your forehand here. Okay, and Mark has pretty good separation. If we look at his shoulders to his hips, we can see he's getting about 45 degrees. Just shadow through to your stroke. If you look, you can just see how much rotation is coming from. Now everyone says you've got to get rotation. Where is this rotation coming from? It's coming from two areas. It's coming from your hips, where we have internal, external rotation of both sides, and it's coming from the spine, where we have rotation. There's about 50% coming from your hips and 50% from your spine. Today, we're going to look at the spinal segment of this, okay? Let's look at your backhand again. So here he is, and he's got here, but his hips, actually you can see here his shoulders, it's hard for you to see, but I can notice that he has a little bit less separation here of his hips to his shoulders, probably about 30 degrees here. Okay, just go through, and you can see now he's going to go all the way around, and what we see is he's got about 180 degrees. Okay, 90 degrees is coming from the hips, and about 90 degrees is coming from the shoulders. The X factor is critical for making you a better player. Once you learn how to do this, you're going to be a better player. Now, is it a strength issue? Is it a flexibility issue? Well, when I learned physical therapy a long time ago, I was very fortunate to learn from Vladimir Yanda, who's the father of modern manual medicine. And what we always did was we started by evaluating the range of motion. Doesn't matter how strong you are if you have no motion. You know, if he's so stiff in his spine that he can only move 2 degrees, it doesn't matter how strong Mark is. Range of motion is important. I think, lately people have been watching Djokovic, and what stands out, Mark, if you think Djokovic, what do you think about this guy?
Well, one of the things that I feel with Djokovic is his unbelievable flexibility in his upper and his lower body, and how he's able to almost separate the two parts of his body. You
see Nadal and everyone's, I've got to get stronger. But the beautiful thing of Djokovic is really took us back to some of the basic principles of physical therapy, that range of motion is very important. In fact, it's a combination of range of motion and strength that makes the best players. I think Sampras has unbelievable flexibility, is right?
And that's one of the things I've noticed being on the professional tour, is watching how big these guys are and how strong they are, yet they have an unbelievable range of motion and flexibility.
Yeah, I think if anyone watches the range of motion of all the top things, you're going to see that they're going through at least 180 degrees motion. If you look at the shoulder starting position, go back to the starting position. So we're looking here, and you just go to the finish mark, and we're going to see they've got at least 180 degrees. Whereas most modern players, most recreational players, Mark, could you show me how the recreational players, they're blocking. They might get well, it might got about 45 degrees, maybe they get 90, but they're not getting around. So if you're out there, you want to improve your strokes, yeah, you've got to get a strong core, but you've got to learn how to move it. Now, in physical therapy, everything begins with evaluation. It's not a cookie cutter approach. I want everyone out there to evaluate their motion first. And we're going to show you some great testing they use from golf. I like to steal, you know. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. If there's something great out there and I think it applies in the physical therapy world to tennis, we're going to use it. And that's what Mark's doing on his site. He's trying to find a lot of the stuff that really applies to tennis and taking from other fields, taking the best of the best to have a hybrid approach to strength and conditioning or making tennis, you a better tennis player. So what we're going to use is from TPI to have a nice evaluation of thoracic motion, and we're going to use that today.
Is this something, Ian, that's going to cost these people hundreds of dollars, or is this something that can be easily done at home?
Well, they say prevention is the best medicine, and I like to put all the physical therapists out of it. I'm a big prehab guy, and if I had my way, I would do everything's prevention. I work on tour, and 90% of what I do is prevention. And that's, I think, in Chinese medicine, you used to pay the doctor when you were well, and when you were sick, the doctor had to pay you. So I like that approach. It's a very simple approach. So what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate Mark's range of motion here. I'm a little bit suspicious because I've seen him play actually a lot. Mark's backhand is not as good as his forehand. Now, it's timing issues, he says, but I think it's pretty stiff in his motion. So I have a little bet with him here. I bet not only that I think he's stiff turning to his backhand, but I bet you I can fix it in one treatment.
Okay, well, I'm hoping to that, anything to help my backhand out. And so we're going to take you through a real easy protocol on how to do this evaluation, and then a very simple stretching method that you can use at home to improve your X factor, the hidden secret of tennis. Here we can see Robin Soderling, who demonstrates an excellent X factor. And what I want you to pay attention to here is his shoulder turn and his hip turn. And what you can see is he's got a really good rotation there in his thoracic spine. And this line that we've drawn on here is going to show you the X factor. If those two lines were drawn, it would create an X, and that's going to give him such great momentum here into the ball using all that elastic energy stored.
Today we're going to evaluate Mark's X factor, which looks at his thoracic spine rotation, or actually his whole spine rotation. He needs to get his feet together, his knees together, hands please on your stomach, and now he is going to turn to the right side as if he was preparing to hit a forehand. And now we're looking at this line compared to this line. If it's parallel, he passes the test, meaning he has 45 degrees of rotation. If it's not parallel, less, then he has less than 45 degrees and he fails. And if he goes past this line, then he has greater than 45 degrees, which adds more rotation to his spine. So this is the forehand evaluation, and that Mark passes because he has 45 degrees. Okay, now let's look at your turning to the left, or his backhand. Stay tall, stay very, very tall. And now we can see that this line is not parallel to this line. He has less than 45 degrees rotation when he's turning to the left or when he's preparing for his backhand. So we need to work on rotation exercises to facilitate increased range of motion, particularly in his thoracic spine. By increasing the rotation, he's going to have more range of motion to move through, and he can increase the speed of his backhand. Thank you, Mark. Again, he's pulling his knee up here to get the spine, the lumbar spine locked out to isolate the stretch on his thoracic spine. And now we're going to really work on getting some thoracic extension and rotation. No matter who you are, what type of athlete, our thoracic spine tends to stiffen up. And really, this is a great stretch to enhance the motion of rotation and a little bit of extension. So here we go again. Okay, 1, 2, good. Breathing out as you go. Let's sink into it a little bit more, Mark. Now it's your second time. 3, 4, coordinating with the breathing. Very relaxed breathing. Breathe out. 5, 6, sink into the stretch a little bit more. And the pillow so it keeps his neck in a nice position. 7, 8, stretching out. He's very, very tight here. He needs to work on this a lot. 9, 10, good. And the last stretch then we'll hold for 12 seconds. 11, 12, good, 12, 11, 10. Focus on your breathing, Mark. Sink further into the stretch. Let that thoracic spine open up. There you go, good, good, good. You can really see that he's sinking into the stretch. He's getting increased thoracic rotation, and this side is going to his left side, which is really going to help his backhand. And from evaluation, we know that this is where he actually needs to work. And interestingly, on the court, his backhand is actually much stiffer than his forehand. So now we're going to go for a little bit more advanced, a P&F pattern. Okay, this one's been made famous by a great cook. They call it the Bretzel stretch, or some people call it the pretzel stretch. So the first thing, he's going to pull his knee up to his chest, same as the other position. Now he's going to try, his mark is very tight, he's going to pull here. Now, mostly what he's going to resist, he's going to try and straighten this leg out. Well, 5, try and straighten out now, push, 4, 3, 2, 1, now relax, and he's trying to sink back again. Sink back into the stretch, opening up here. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 seconds here, 5, 4, 3, he's pushing out into it, 2, 1. Now he's relaxing, and again we'll relax 15 seconds with his breathing, coordinating with his breathing, stretching, good, 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 there you go. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do one last one. So he straightens out with his left leg. He's using his quads. They're contracting, and while they're contracting there, because we should have some reciprocal inhibition of the other muscles, allowing them to relax afterwards. Good. Now there's a deeper relaxation, and he stretches it out, and he really just tries to open here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. You can also do it just afterwards. You can release this, Mark, and now just stretch back into it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then he can pull his leg back up again. Yep, pull your leg back up again. It's just sometimes hard. And now pull out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, let go of your hand. Let go of here, and now just stretch into it again. There are different ways of doing it, whatever works the best for you. Okay, and now as a final point, we like to reassess the motion that he had problems with. There. So feet together, knees together, hands in the stomach, and let's turn to the backhand side now. And look at that. By golly, we've got to 45 degrees after this. So it's been a totally successful treatment. I usually charge $100 for such therapy. Anyway, beautiful. So let's one more time again. Let's go turning to the backhand side. Stay tall, Mark. Stay tall. Stay tall. Stay tall. And we've increased that range of motion in one visit. He needs to maintain this with stretches at home. You know, easiest is that simple stretch at the start, but there it is.
Thanks, Ian.
Beautiful.
Okay, so now we've shown you a great way of testing your X factor with the forehand and backhand rotation, and Ian's taken you through some great stretches that can right away improve your upper body rotation, your thoracic spine flexibility. All that's left now is to go onto the court and practice, and hopefully now that you've learnt the secret with the forehand, you'll be able to make improvements using this X factor idea in your own game.